We had a little internal bot we called Nightwatch. It wasn't fancy at first. Node script, a handful of cron jobs. It watched vendor status pages and our own health checks, and if it thought something was brewing, it DM'd the on-call person on Slack. Are you awake? If you didn't respond, it escalated. Just enough personality to feel human at 2 a.m, not enough to be cute. Around the time budget got tight, we upgraded it. I taught it to look at logs and summarize suspected incidents. Not to diagnose, just to take the wall of Redshift errors and say something noisy is happening in ingestion, looks like duplicate keys. Off-the-shelf model, guardrails everywhere. It made the first 5 minutes of an incident less dumb. Nobody thanked me, but I watched response times tick down and slept a little easier. Then we had layoffs and reduce our spend move from Slide to Slack. Nightwatch was an easy cut. We shut down the render dyno, revoked the Slack token, deleted the app from our workspace, dropped its tiny Postgres. I left myself a note I thought was funny in the PR. The night watches ended. For about a week, nothing. It was almost a relief to go back to raw PagerDuty pings. Then 2:41 a.m, a Tuesday, I rolled over to my phone lighting up. It was a DM in Slack from Nightwatch. Are you awake? The extra space before the question mark was a bug I never fixed. Its profile was out but grayed out. The header read Nightwatch deactivated. The little typing animation flickered for a second before the message landed, which is something we added to make it feel less like commands from a toaster. I just stared at it. The app was gone. I checked our Slack admin menu anyway, just to be sure. No bot. No OAuth token. The Manage Apps screen had it under removed. 7 minutes later, PagerDuty went off for an upstream outage. Routine. I told myself the DM was delayed from before we turned it off. Slack burps all the time. All of this was sleepy thoughts. Thursday, 3:16 a.m. It happened again. Are you awake? Same spacing, same 2-second typing flicker. I typed awake on reflex, then caught myself. We hadn't been having issues, and I didn't want to feed whatever bug this was. I put the phone face down. PagerDuty went off 9 minutes later. Third-party auth this time. By morning I had a theory. Somewhere I had left a webhook. Slack had old betas of Nightwatch with legacy incoming webhooks once. I grepped our repos for the string "Are you awake" and found only my own code. Searched the logs. Nothing. Slack's audit log API showed nothing created, nothing posting. There's a boring explanation for that. Deactivated apps don't always show up in audit logs the way you want, but I still stayed at JSON until lunch. We looked for infrastructure. No render dyno. No hero GUI. No do droplet. In AWS I found an S3 bucket called nightwatch-state I'd forgotten about, just a JSON history of past incidents, so the bot could avoid duplicate DM. Server access log showed a get the day before at 3:15 a.m. AP address geolocated to the city where our old office was. That made me smile. We'd left a Raspberry Pi under a dusty switch back then, running a janky exporter and a fan script for the closet. We moved out in June. Maybe I forgot to unplug it in the rush. At night, at 2:58, Nightwatch DM'd me a third time. Are you awake? I finally typed back. Awake. The response came almost immediately. Bid. I know those 4 characters. That was a tiny flourish I'd been proud of, ripped straight from a code comment I'd left myself when I thought nobody would ever read it. A day later I was going to convince myself I'd mentioned it on a stand-up, and someone else had put it in, but that night I felt my scalp prickle. It wasn't just a word. It was a capitalization. It was mine. PagerDuty fired at 3:05. The incident resolved itself without me doing anything more than watch things fail in slow motion. I went into the office in the morning. Our old building smelled like burnt coffee and dust, even after months. The server closet door opened with a little drag. Everything that mattered was gone. The Pi was there, though, shoved behind a cable organizer, green light ticking. Someone had plugged it into a UPS as a joke, and then nobody had undone it. I traced the Ethernet. It hung loose. The Pi was alive on an island, no network cable. Very funny. I pressed the little square on the power strip and watched the light die. When I got back to my desk I checked Slack. At 3:22 a.m, while I was in the car, I had another DM from Nightwatch. Are you awake? The logical part of my brain won for a minute. You have delivery delays on your phone, I told myself. You just caught a notification late this time. It was bad data, not a ghost. It took me longer to get back on Wi-Fi than I remembered. This is how you keep yourself sane as an on-call. You assume systems fail loudly and stupidly. I spent a Saturday pulling old DNS apart. I found a Cloudflare Worker that used to redirect Nightwatch company come to our status page and forgot to die with the rest. I found, in its script, a scheduled event, check the same list of endpoints Nightwatch once checked, and if something was off, post to a Slack webhook I didn't recognize. The webhook URL was from my own DM channel. I didn't remember adding that. It fit though. We had tested a last resort path once, in case Slack API got weird, where Nightwatch could post to our DM via direct webhook. I pried it out, revoked, deleted the worker, and for the first time in a week, didn't flinch at 3 AM. 2 weeks. Quiet. Then there was a storm, the kind the city likes. Lights flickered. PagerDuty didn't go off, our staff was fine, but I woke up anyway at 3:11 for no reason I could explain. The room had that electricity feeling you sometimes get when your brain is too awake. My phone screen was dark. I lay there and listened to ring. At 3:13, Slack lit up. Nightwatch deactivated. 3 dots. Just the typing indicator pulsing, as if someone held down a thought. It sat there, then blinked away. No message, no log, nothing to screenshot. I opened the DM and scrolled up past "Are you awake?" Awaked good. The top of the thread had my very first test ping to it months ago. "You will wake me unless you have to," I had told it. Promise. I almost laughed. I'm a rational person. I know it was probably push notification weirdness. I know Slack keeps dead apps around in weird ways. I know email fallbacks and queues and the rest. I know I assembled this bot out of a dozen services that like to retry things when I'm trying to sleep. If somebody told me this story, I'd nod and point at a webhook I'd forgotten. I still kept the DM pinned though. I still found myself, during the next minor blip, watching the header bar for a Nightwatch's typing with my head in that shape. It only took 1 second to flicker with no message behind it to turn a bot into a rumor I tell in a chat like this. The last relevant detail, because people ask the string "Are you awake?" It doesn't appear anywhere else in our repos anymore. I'm not being poetic. It's gone. I deleted everything. But autocorrect on my phone still suggested to me sometimes at 2:40 in the morning, in the middle of a grocery list or a text to my brother. I've trained a half-dozen keyboards since. It's habit, I tell myself. Muscle memory in silicon. And then, from the corner of my eye, I'll see the ellipses pop and vanish on Slack. You don't need to believe that part. I'm not entirely sure I do. But I still answer out loud, quietly, just in case. I wake.